Well, I'm glad to be with you again to keep our rendezvous with the macabre. I've called today's episode The Case of the Hunted Hunter. Whenever public attention is focused on the flight of a notorious criminal, some people admit to some sympathy for the hunted. My advice is don't waste your tears, for in most cases the man who is being hunted deserves his fate. I think you'll agree with me when you hear today's story of the hunted hunter. It is the afternoon of October the 7th, 1942. The fair country of England is overrun with khaki-colored figures and crisscrossed with the track of 1,000 tanks and lorries. The armies not only of Britain, but of her allies are engaged in the endless rehearsals which form so large a part of modern warfare. Even the loveliest parts of our beautiful countryside clattered to the rattle of Bren gun carriers and machine gun fire. Places that had not heard or seen man or his mischief for many a long month. Hankley Common, a beauty spot in the heart of Surrey. Down one of the leafy lanes comes a crew of Marines aboard a Bren gun carrier. Their map reading is not perhaps their strongest point, for they've swerved well off the beaten track and are coming to a cul-de-sac in a little remote dell.
I tell you, Ginger, we're lost.
Don't be blinking silly. You trust old Orkide.
I reckon old Orkide needs a new pair of spectacles.
I'll tell you, you've got this track tucked right out in the main road.
Is that so, Mr. Blinking Orkide? Well, what do you make of this? I pull her up. I'll say you made a mistake. Heaven knows we'll have to reverse the carrier to get out of here.
Well, you can back it up round by the side of those bushes.
Okay. Ain't it beautiful? I wish we could spend the afternoon here.
Yes, right, we'll have a picnic. I'm sure the sergeant won't mind. Cheer up, let's get going.
Mind how you go. You're pretty soft by those bushes. You don't want to get bogged down. I'll get out and give you the word. Slowly. All right. Another 2 feet. That's it. Oi,
What is it?
stop for a minute. Look at that. Where? Sticking out of the ground where the track has turned it up. It's a human arm.
But for that chance, the remains of the body might have lain there for years until time finally removed all trace. Even when the discovery took place, there was little on which to work. One of Scotland Yard's famous murder squad teams, Chief Inspector Green and Detective Sergeant Hodge, were sent down to Hankley Common to tackle the investigation.
They haven't left us much to go on.
No, sir. What do you think the chances are for identification?
Well, it's difficult to tell. The man who did this job was no fool. He dissected the body in such a way that we'll have the devil's own job to work anything out. Yeah, I think we'll take some samples of the soil to see if we can trace any sign of poison. In the meantime, I want this wood sealed off and in search section by section. Yeah, we'd better have mine detectors to help us. There might be a knife or something of that kind.
Very good.
I want to go back to town to have a word with Fred Cheddle.
Fingerprints, eh, sir?
Well, if there's anybody who can help us, it's the fingerprint department at the yard.
Superintendent Fred Cheryl was baffled. Nowhere was there a patch of skin which still held those telltale ridges which might have helped in the identification of the victim. Then into the picture came Dr. Keith Simpson, Home Office pathologist.
I have based my investigation on the small sample of hair with which I was supplied. The hair belongs to a woman, or rather a girl in her late teens. Naturally blonde hair, dyed brown and bleached again. I should say it was worn in some short hairstyle, probably a bob.
Meantime, back at Hankley Common, Chief Detective Inspector Green was leading an intensive search. Scotland Yard had decided that this was a case of murder, in the belief that a body rarely gets buried among the soil of a remote woodland dell for innocent reasons. Whoever had hidden the body and committed the murder had known these woods well, for almost every trace of the victim and the crime had been covered up. Almost every trace, but not quite.
Get this shrubbery cleared away.
Yes, sir. I've got 4 men working to the back with knives.
Yes, but for heaven's sake, try and avoid disturbing the soil too much, particularly that pathway.
We went over that this morning, sir. I've taken impressions of some of the footprints.
Good. Now, let's go over everything we found so far.
First of all, sir, there's this little crucifix.
Yes. Probably worn by the girl.
Then we found these pages from the Bible and a few sodden bits of letters.
Any luck with deciphering them?
No, sir, I'm afraid the rain has practically washed the writing away. Then we came across this bit of card.
Part of an identity card, isn't it?
Yes, sir, I've had that checked with the yard and the samples tally. Unfortunately, it's just a piece of the corner, and so far we've not found any more.
Oh, come over here.
Oh, what's that?
Sounds as though they found something, sir.
Oh, come on.
Run over here, sir, around the back of those bushes.
All right, we're coming.
There we are, sir.
Yes, what in heaven's name?
It's some sort of hut.
More of a shelter.
It's made of woven saplings, sir. Very neat job.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's a wigwam. My boy's a scout, and they teach him to make this sort of thing.
I doubt if they can make it as well as this one, sir. It's really a beautiful job of work.
Yeah, there must be some sort of expert in this country who can tell us something about wigwams. I'll get in touch with the yard.
And from the hundreds of different experts who are at the disposal of Scotland Yard came a man who was, believe it or not, an expert on wigwams. He was motored down to Hankley Common post-haste, and after examining the structure carefully, said to Detective Inspector Green, "The work of a Cree Indian."
Cree Indian? What in heaven's name was he doing on Hankley Common?
What indeed? Meantime, from the other fragments of evidence, Scotland Yard was starting to piece together the trail which had been so carefully concealed. To the police laboratory went the stained and sodden letters. The bit of identity card was traced to its office of origin. Questions to every person who lived, worked, or moved near Hankley Common. A blonde girl, bobbed hair, a Cree Indian.
Yes, I remember seeing a girl like that. She lived in the woods for several months, it'd be. And I was out late at night on my business.
Oh, what business?
Well, sir, I do occasionally take a little walk at night.
Oh, all right, I know. Poaching. Still, never mind that. I'm concerned with something a lot more serious. You say you saw this girl?
That's right, sir. Not often, mind you. She was cunning-like. Didn't like herself to be seen. Kept herself hidden. There was a man with her. He was a soldier.
Oh, you mean he wore battle dress?
That's right, sir. But he weren't like our lads wear. Different, somehow.
Oh, how do you mean, different?
Well, sir, it were more classy-like. And this soldier fella, he weren't English.
You mean he was coloured?
Well, he weren't English. But he were real smart. And I only saw him twice, and it were by accident. He was standing over there by that tree. Quite still-like. Just like on the movies. Like, a Red Indian.
Hello? Is that Canadian Army records? This is Detective Inspector Green of Scotland Yard. Yeah, I want your assistance. Yeah, you had a camp near Godalming in the winter of 1941 and the early spring of the following year. Yeah, well, I'd like very much to have from you a roll of all the personnel stationed at that camp. And in particular, I'm interested in any soldier of Indian parentage. Yeah, that's right. Ah, good. Tomorrow morning, then. Right, thank you very much.
But remember, all that Scotland Yard had at this time was the knowledge that a girl, as yet unidentified, and a man who looked like an Indian had been seen together in the woods. But now all the resources of the yard were devoted to finding an answer to the question, whose body was it that had lain in that dell at Hankley Common?
Yes, that's right, sir. The identity card did come from his office.
You can tell that from the fragment of the upper part of the card?
Yes, sir. There's just enough to give us the district for certain. Still, it could be one of 10,000 different numbers, so I can't help you much more than that.
Wait a minute. You say there are 10,000 possible numbers?
Yes, sir.
Well, if I told you to belong to a girl of 18 or 19 years, how long would it take you to sort out the cards into that category?
Oh, in that case, only a few hours, sir.
Right. I'll wait.
And so, almost by the time the report had come in from the Canadian Army Records Office, Scotland Yard had managed to identify the body as that of Joan Pearl Wolfe, a 19-year-old girl who had run away from home and who had disappeared.
Green here. Oh, good. And were there any Indians on the strength of that unit? Ah, I see. Well, would you mind spelling that name? Augustesangret. And where's he now? Well, thank goodness he hasn't gone overseas. Yes, I should like to see him. Oh, well, if he's as near as that to London, perhaps we can bring him into the yard for a little talk. Yes. All right, then. We'll make it 12 o'clock tomorrow morning. You were stationed at Godalming last year?
Yes.
Did you know a blonde girl?
Yes.
Did you live with her in a wigwam you constructed on Hankley Common? Was her name Joan?
Yes.
What else? Was it Joan Pearl Wolfe?
Yes.
Then why not say so?
And so it went on. Cautious and non-committal, Sandwich seemed completely unperturbed by the investigation. He was asked to give his fingerprints, but told he need not do so. Without a word, he thrust his hands deep into his pockets. That was that. The yard had not enough evidence to charge him, so he went back to his unit. However, Green was convinced that provided the woods could yield sufficient evidence, Sandwich would prove to be the killer. The hunt for evidence was on. One of the first discoveries in a renewed search of the wood in Hankley Common was the marks of a knife.
That's rather a strange shape, isn't it?
Yes, sir, just like a parrot's beak.
Where did you find those knife marks?
Several places, all over the wigwam.
We'll take an impression of these knife marks and let Dr. Simpson have them. I'm going to have a talk with him. And so, you see, any evidence you can give us as to how the murder was committed would be of enormous value.
Her skull was shattered with some kind of club, but she was also stabbed.
Take a look at this cast. The blade is shaped like a parrot's beak. Could this have been the weapon?
Oh, can you leave this cast with me?
Yes.
I'd like to have go over with me.
Dr. Keith Simpson reported back that a knife of this description had been used for the murder.
That knife must be found.
We've been over the ground very carefully, sir.
We'll go over it again and again. Whatever happens, we must find that knife.
The woods were searched again. Then, following a fresh line, Green ordered Sandquist's barrack room to be searched. A number of his companions were brought in for questioning.
Knife with a blade like a parrot's beak? Sure, I remember a knife like that. Funny you should come to mention it. I didn't know Sangret very well, but one afternoon I walked out to the wigwam he had built in the woods. I saw the knife stuck in a tree. The only reason I was there was I had to get Sangret back. He had been absent without leave. And there was a girl with him there. No, I've not seen the knife since. Why? What's up?
By this time, a fresh unit was occupying the barracks where Sandquist had been stationed. A squad of men were put to work to search every inch of the ground near the huts. And finally, they found the knife in the bend of a toilet drain under the floor of one of the wash houses. Dr. Keith Simpson, the pathologist, came down to the dell of Hankley Common and in the twilight of an October evening carried out a dramatic experiment.
We found this club in the woods. We have reason to think it may have been used by Sangrid. Now, here's the knife. First of all, I'd like to match the knife against the mark in the tree. And then, Dr. Simpson, I'd like to match the club and the knife against that reconstruction you have of the girl's skull.
I see. All right, then. Well, let's make a start.
Painstakingly, the measurements were compared. The chain of evidence was almost complete. Sandford was brought under escort to Scotland Yard for another interview.
Now, Sangrid, I want you to take a look at this. You see this club?
Yes.
Have you ever seen it before?
No.
You've never touched this club in your life?
No.
Well, in that case, you'd have no objection to giving us your fingerprints. That would be conclusive proof, wouldn't it? Will you allow us to take your fingerprints?
Yes.
Good.
In point of fact, the club had been carefully wiped long ago. There was no trace of a fingerprint on it. Inspector Green knew that, and Sandquist knew it too. What Sandquist did not know was that Green had another reason for wanting those fingerprints. No sooner had they been given than a photograph of them was on its way to the headquarters of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. From Canadian fingerprint records came a radio message in reply.
August Sangray, 4 times convicted in 12 years for crimes of violence. Last offense, September 14, 1938. Threatening to shoot a woman.
And so Sandquist was taken to the dell in the woods on Hankley Common. By now it was winter and the trees stood bare. The frozen earth rang under his infantry boots. His face showed no expression as he was taken along the woodland path. His step was sure and he seemed confident that he could make no mistake.
Now, Sangrid, you see this wigwam?
Yes.
You made it?
Yes.
You lived in it with Joan Wolfe?
Yes.
This cooking fire, she made food for you?
Yes.
And this picture cut in the wood, she made this?
Yes.
Our little grey home in the west. You lived here happily?
Yes.
You never had a quarrel?
No.
No quarrel. Always peace?
Yes.
You see that path over there, Sangrid?
Yes.
If you follow it for 30 yards, you'll come to a clump of bushes. Just there, we found her body, or at least all that remained of her body. We believe that she ran down that path. She ran in terror. Somebody had stabbed her. She was trying to escape from him. The man who stabbed her hunted her down that path. He caught up with her by those bushes. He hit her with his club again and again. She stumbled down among those thorn shrubs. He went on beating her until she was dead. Come on down there. I'll show you where it happened.
No. That way no good. That way we never go. No good to go down that way.
Are you afraid?
Afraid of no man.
Oh, what are you afraid of? Ghosts?
No good to go down that way. You go. I wait here. He stood rigid and stubborn at the top of the murder path. Nor could he be persuaded to walk that way.
All right, Hodges. I think we've got enough now. I'm going to apply for a warrant.
And so, a few weeks later, Sandquist stood in the dock at Surrey Assizes into the murder of Joan Pearl Wolfe.
Listen to me, sir. Handwritten in pencil on the side of this crude wigwam were these words. In the midst of all thy glory, cast a look of pity upon all who are suffering against life's difficulties, separated from those they love the lonely and the friendless. Did you write those words?
No.
Did Joan Pearl Wolfe write them? You cannot write, can you, Sangre?
No.
But those words were read to you.
Yes.
Why were those words written? Because you'd quarreled with this girl?
He stood in the dock, still inscrutable, stubborn. He alone knew the secret of what had happened in the woods. That against Scotland Yard, there are no real secrets. One by one, the experts went into the dock. Simpson, the pathologist, Phil, the fingerprint expert, and Green of the murder squad. Together, they built up the story of how this strange 28-year-old tribesman had met this 19-year-old convent-educated girl. How they'd lived together in the woods and how they had quarreled. From a tiny crucifix, a footprint, and a piece of bone, they built up that awful picture. The hunter pursuing the girl through the sheltering trees, a skirt caught in a thorn bush, the stumbling feet, and then his merciless attack. He had used all the skill of generations upon generations of hunters to conceal his deadly work, but that skill had not been enough, and so he stood there in the dock watching the jury as they filed back to give their verdict.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you considered your verdict?
We have.
And do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
He did not flinch when he heard the verdict. He looked straight ahead. What went on in his mind? Was he thinking of some words the girl had said to him one afternoon 9 long months ago? We learn of these words from the Canadian military policeman who had given evidence. He had come to their wigwam in the woods in order to collect Sandford and bring him back to camp. Firmly but politely, he had ordered the girl to leave. He had then said,
Goodbye, August. Remember the burning wood, our fire, and the loveliest smell in the world. I'll never get our little home in the west.
And so Sandford had gone back to camp. But one evening he had returned to his home in the woods and to the blonde girl with the short bobbed hair. Perhaps it was late night. Maybe they talked and quarreled.
Come here. Don't let's quarrel. I promise you I'll never go away. August, what are you doing with that? What are you doing with that knife? Now, don't be silly. August, give away. What are you going to do? August, put down that knife. Please don't follow me. Leave me. Let me go. I'll go away. No. Oh, God, please. No. Oh, baby.
In court!
Auguste Sangret, the jury found you guilty of this terrible crime. And the sentence of the law which I have to pronounce upon you according to the statute is this: that you, Auguste Sangret, be taken to the place from which you came, and that from thence you be taken to a place of execution, and that you be hanged by the neck until you be dead. And may God of his infinite mercy have compassion on your soul.
So ends the story of August Sandret. Next time you read in your newspaper of a criminal being hunted by the police, don't think of the criminal. Think of the victim and spare your pity for him. Well, that's all for now. I'll be joining you again soon to tell you some more of the secrets of Scotland Yard. Until then, this is Clive Brooks saying goodbye and pleasant dreams.
The Secrets of Scotland Yard.
It's 6:30 and time to return to the good old days of radio drama as we present The Secrets of Scotland Yard.
How do you do? This is Clive Brooks. I want to tell you today about a certain Henry Fauntleroy. No, don't mistake me. I know what you're thinking. You're conjuring up a picture of a child in brown velveteen knee breeches and jacket with a big white lace collar and golden curls hanging over his shoulders. That innocent and rather obnoxious infant hero of 19th century fiction, little Lord Fauntleroy, in fact. Henry Fauntleroy was a very different kettle of fish. It's true he was born a gentleman, descended, so tradition says, from a natural son of the captive King John of France, whence came the name, an anglicized version of l'enfant le roi. It's true, too, that in childhood and adolescence he led a sheltered and genteel life and was something of a mother's boy. But there the resemblance ends. Little Lord Fauntleroy would never, I'm sure, have descended to forgery, even if he had an aptitude for it. Henry Fauntleroy did and expiated his crime on the scaffold. For until 120 years ago, we must remember, embezzlement and forgery were hanging matters in England. In 1792, an institution which became known as the Bernard Street Bank was established in the London thoroughfare of that name. It was run in partnership by Sir James Sibbald and Messrs. Josiah Stacey and William Marsh. But since none of these gentlemen had any head for finance, they entrusted the active control to one William Fauntleroy. Under Fauntleroy's guidance, the bank weathered several financial storms in its first 15 years. Indeed, so able was he that the others had little to do save collect their regular dividends, and no doubt utter a silent prayer of thanks for the ability and business acumen of their hard-working partner. But even the best of good things were sent, and on March 22nd, 1807, William Fauntleroy very inconsiderately died. Thrown into a panic by this untoward event, the three bankers met in conference.
As I see it, gentlemen, the question is this. Should we take into the business some other man to replace Fauntleroy, or should we make an effort to run the bank ourselves?
Don't be absurd, Sibbald. We wouldn't last 6 months.
Oh, I don't know.
Marsh is right. We'd be bankrupt before we knew it. What do you know of high finance? What do any of us know? Not a thing.
We could learn, couldn't we?
My dear fellow, one's either born with a flair for that sort of thing or one's not. Do let us recognize our own limitations. Besides, think of the work it would mean. We'd never even have a spare moment. If you have a fancy to chain yourself to an office desk, do so by all means. But it's not my idea of a pleasant life.
Perhaps you're right. Well, very well, then we replace Fauntleroy, but with whom?
There must be some competent man in the city we can woo with a sufficiently tempting offer. Well, that fellow Johnson at the Bank of England. No. Or Hutchins, for instance? Wouldn't trust him an inch. I see your point. Well, now, let's think. I don't see why we have to go outside our own house. What do you mean? My dear fellow, I am not referring to a what, I am referring to a who. In other words, our late partner's son. Young Henry? Precisely. Hang it all, man. Well, I mean to say Henry's a fine young lad and all that, but he's only a boy. Nonsense, he's 23. 23? Hardly out of swaddling clothes. My dear Sybil, we've known for a long time that Henry Fauntleroy has inherited his father's genius for figures. There is not the slightest question he's by far the best clerk we've ever had here. That's all true enough, but do you deny his seriousness? No. His industry? No. His scrupulous honesty? Good heavens, no. We admit he's a model young man in every way. Then what on earth has age to do with it? It seems to me he's the ideal choice. He's been with us ever since he was 16. He knows the business from end to end. And I am sure our client would have the same confidence in him that the laws had in his father. It'd be throwing a heavy responsibility on such a young man. I've no doubt his shoulders are broad enough to bear it. Let's call him in and talk it over, shall we? And so at 23, Henry Fauntleroy found himself in what amounted to complete charge of Bernard Street Bank. As time passed, the partner saw no reason to regret that choice. He was first at work every morning, last to leave at night. In addition to directing the bank's affairs, he did the work of 3 clerks. It wasn't until 1810, 3 years after his appointment, that Henry Fauntleroy gave his partners any real cause for worry. And then it could hardly be said that this was due to any personal illusions of grandeur, or indeed, as he emphasized, to any fault of his. The simple fact was that he'd taken a normal business risk, and it had gone astray.
The position is this, gentlemen. We have advanced Messrs. Brickwood and Company in all £60,000. The security that we accepted in good faith has proved worthless. The principals of the company have decamped, and the company is bankrupt. Does that mean we're going to lose the lot? I'm afraid so, Mr. Marsh.
Oh, dash it all, man. Surely some of it's recoverable.
I'll be surprised if we get back 1,000.
Isn't there anything we can do? Can't we sue or something? For heaven's sake, Sybil. Henry's already told us that the principals have decamped. You can have warrants issued if you like. That's not going to get us back our 60,000. Tell me, Henry, how does the bank stand over this? We're still solvent, I hope.
Just about. I think we can squeeze through a bit of manipulating and juggling here and there. Of course, if the news got out and there were a rush, we'd be done for.
Then it's up to all of us to see that it doesn't get out. You'll do the best you can for us, won't you, Henry?
Naturally.
This manipulating and juggling you talk about means nothing, nothing that wouldn't bear investigation, I hope.
Well, of course not. Just a matter of realizing on securities, calling in loans and so forth.
Dash it all, Sybil. You don't suggest Henry a descend to sharp practices, do you? No, certainly not. It's just that I don't understand these things very well. Well, we'll leave it to you, Fauntleroy, to straighten the whole thing out.
Have no fear, gentlemen. Everything's going to be all right.
Despite Fauntleroy's assurance, this was only the first of a series of setbacks in which the bank found itself involved in the next couple of years. What with the Napoleonic Wars raging on the continent, there was a general scarcity of money in England, and week after week, hitherto solid firms were crashing into insolvency. Only Fauntleroy's incomparable skill kept the business afloat. Yet all his genius was not equal to coping with a crisis in his private affairs which arose at this time. His ambition had always been to marry for money. It was therefore foolish of him to pay such assiduous court to one Susanna Young, who was charming and very lovely to look at, but quite penniless. Doubly foolish, in fact, since Susanna had a hot-headed brother, Robert, with whom the matter of family honor was something of an obsession. Inevitably, the time came when Robert Young paid Fauntleroy a far from friendly visit.
Henry, I'm a blunt man who speaks my mind. I've a plain question to put you, and I shall expect a plain answer. Why, certainly, my dear fellow. What is it? What are your intentions towards my sister? Well, really, Robert, it's rather an extraordinary thing to ask, isn't it? I'm waiting for an answer. Well, I'm afraid I'm not prepared to give you one. Surely this is a matter for Susanna and myself. I don't imagine she'd take it kindly if she knew you were interfering in her affairs. I'm here at Susanna's request. I find that hard to believe. Now, look here, Henry. Let's stop evading the point. What is the point? The point is that for a year or more, your conduct towards Susanna has led not only herself, but her family and her friends to expect an ultimate proposal of marriage. That's not. Oh, no, it's not. You've toyed with the girl's affections. You've deliberately led her on. You've hopelessly compromised her in the eyes of the world, and now, my friend, you're going to marry her. No, who says so? I do. Oh, don't be a fool, Robert. Put that pistol away. Not until I've your solemn promise that you'll make Susanna your wife. Suppose I refuse. I shall give you 10 seconds to make up your mind, Henry. And I'll shoot. Oh, this is too absurd. 1, 2, 3. I mean it, you know. Yes, I rather believe you do. 4, 5, 6. Look, can't we talk this over quietly without all these heroic? 7, 8, 9. It's your last chance, Henry. Do you promise? Well, I don't seem to have much option, do I? All right, I promise.
The marriage didn't last, of course. A matter of a year or so, just long enough for Fauntleroy to find himself not only a husband, but a father. Then the unhappy Mrs. Fauntleroy retired with her child to her parents' home in Tunbridge Wells, consoled with an allowance of £400 a year. And there, as far as this story is concerned, she remained. The incident seems to have had an unfortunate effect on Fauntleroy. His devotion to business and his conduct during the business hours remained as irreproachable as ever. But after nightfall, he shed his respectability and plunged into a riotous life of drinking, gambling, and women. Before long, coffee-house gossip was linking his name with that of Mary Bertram, a woman of great beauty, few morals, and even less scruples. Mary Bertram's tastes were expensive, as Fauntleroy soon found.
Oh, it's you, Henry, darling. Hello.
Good evening, my sweet.
You do look dashing tonight.
And you look ravishing, as always.
Thank you, Henry. You're early, aren't you?
No, my dear, you're late. We're due at the Corinthic in 10 minutes. I'll help myself to a drink while you finish dressing.
Oh, there's no hurry. Do you like my new bracelet?
Quite a charming little ball.
I can't thank you enough, Henry. It's awfully sweet of you to buy it for me.
Oh, I wasn't aware that I had.
Oh, yes, darling. I got it today at Cartier's. They said they put it on your account. You don't mind, do you?
Well, how much did it cost?
Oh, a mere trifle, really. 200 guineas.
200 guineas, but
what, Henry?
Oh, I bought you a set of pearl earrings only last week.
Yes, I know, dear, but I simply had to have a bracelet to go with them. Oh, you don't begrudge me a little thing like that, do you?
Oh, no, of course not. But you must remember, my dear, I'm not made of money.
You're a banker, aren't you?
Yes, but that doesn't signify.
Oh, nonsense, Henry. All bankers are rich. Everyone knows that. Now, do stop being miserable over a few pence.
200 guineas is not a few pence, Mary. I try not to be a niggardly man. I pride myself. I'm always open-handed and generous, but after all, there are limits.
Oh, dear. If we're going to have a lecture about money, I shan't go to the Corinthic at all. I shall go to the theatre with Reggie Kent instead.
That young bounder.
Well, Reggie may have his faults, but quibbling over a few paltry guineas is not one of them. And he simply idolizes me. He said so a dozen times in the last month. He's really rather a dear, and I do treat him shabbily. I must try and be kinder to him in future.
Oh, all right, my dear. You win. You always do. Now, run along now and finish your dressing. We don't want to be too late.
Coping with the willful extravagances of Mary Bertram was in itself enough for Henry Fauntleroy. But with the passing of time, affairs at the bank became more critical than ever. More clients defaulted, more investments went astray, until by 1814, even Fauntleroy's genius was unequal to maintaining for the establishment an air of untroubled prosperity. At last, in desperation, Fauntleroy was forced to do something he'd always wished to avoid. He sought help from the Bank of England.
You ask us, Mr. Fauntleroy, to advance you £50,000 on nothing more tangible than your note of hand.
Not my personal note, sir. Naturally, it will have the backing of the Berners Street Bank.
And what security has the Berners Street Bank to offer, pray?
Why, its reputation in 22 years of trading, of course. Its goodwill.
Reputation and goodwill, Mr. Fauntleroy, are commodities that have been at a discount for some considerable time. Can you produce documentary evidence to prove your ability to cover the sum you ask for?
If I could do that, sir, I should have no need of a loan.
And since you apparently can't, sir, there'll be no loan.
You can't turn me down like this.
It rather seems as though that's what I'm doing, doesn't it?
You don't realize we've simply got to have this money to tide us over. Otherwise, we face a danger of insolvency.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fauntleroy, but it's not part of our function to bolster up the crumbling finances of jerry-built private banks. Good day, sir.
You'd like to see us crash, wouldn't you? You'd like to see every private bank forced out of existence so you could hold a monopoly. Well, this is one pleasure that's going to be denied you. I wasn't born yesterday, sir. I've held my bank together through difficult times for 7 years, and I shall continue to do so without the aid of charity from you.
Good day, Mr. Fauntleroy.
Good day.
To avoid financial disaster, there was only one thing to do. Even before Fauntleroy's carriage had returned him to Berners Street, his agile mind had worked out the details of what he planned. On that fateful day in 1814, when not only the bank whose affairs he controlled, but he personally faced financial ruin, Henry Fauntleroy embarked on the first of a series of forgeries which were to make history. His modus operandi was simple. The Berners Street Bank held on behalf of various clients innumerable bonds, consols, long and short annuities, navy loans, and other government securities. The practice was then, as it is today, for the bank to collect the dividends on these investments and to pay them direct into the current accounts of the holders.
In most cases, these bonds lie in our safe for years unseen. Take these £5,000 worth of consols we're holding for Miss Frances Young, for instance. I know Miss Young's signature very well. I can imitate it as easily as I sign my own. What's to stop me forging a power of attorney, authorizing me to sell the bonds on her behalf?
Sounds easy enough. But doesn't the power of attorney require the signature of witnesses?
Well, of course. But I can forge these too, can't I? A couple of my clerks here. How are they to ever know?
And what about these dividends? Once the bonds are sold, they'll cease, won't they? Surely as soon as that happens, Miss Young will start asking awkward questions, won't she?
But they won't stop. That's the point. Whenever dividends fall due, I shall have the money paid in and credited to her in the normal way. I tell you, the scheme's quite infallible.
And that is how Fauntleroy operated. Whenever he needed money, some bonds were sold under forged authority, and dividends were paid scrupulously as they became due. It took some incredibly brilliant juggling of books and falsifications of entries. A single slip would have been detected, and it would have given the whole game away. But Fauntleroy made no slip.
Of course, it can't go on forever, I realize that. But there's no danger that it will. Once we've passed the crisis and the bank's prospering again, I shall gradually rebuy and replace the bonds, and no one will be any the wiser. In fact, it amounts to this. I'm not really stealing them at all, merely borrowing them for the time being.
There spoke the incurable optimism of the born gambler. Everything will be all right tomorrow, once the crisis is past, once we've turned the corner. But for Fauntleroy, that corner never appeared. And so he was forced to go on and on, covering one embezzlement with another. There were narrow escapes, of course. For instance, one day he had a call from a well-known broker.
I'm sorry to trouble you, Mr. Fauntleroy, but there's something going on I don't quite understand. Oh, indeed? Well, what's that? Lady Nelson's a client of yours, isn't she? Yes, a very old and valued one. Well, I had instructions from her this morning to sell £5,000 worth of 4% you're reputed to be holding on her behalf. Well, sir, I've made a thorough check, and there are no 4% registered in her name. Not one. But naturally, my dear fellow, I've already sold them on her behalf. She asked me to do so only yesterday. Oh, she didn't tell me that? Well, then she must have forgotten. You know how vague women are about business. All the same, it's most irregular. I mean to say, she always comes to me for these things. Why should she suddenly change her practice? I've a good mind to tell her, but my dear man, you'd be much better advised to say nothing at all. After all, what harm has been done? Here are the proceeds, and here's your brokerage fee. You will find the amounts quite correct. Now, if you don't want to embarrass Lady Nelson and so run the risk of losing her as a client, you'll pretend you put the deal through in the normal way and let it go at that. Well, perhaps you're right. My dear fellow, I'm sure I am. I'll take your advice this time, but I still think it's all very peculiar.
Sometimes clients died. Before their executors took over the estate, Fauntleroy would repurchase the stolen bonds and register them once more in the name of their rightful holder. To finance this, he would have to commit another forgery, of course, but by now he was in so deep that it didn't seem to matter. As his forgeries increased, so did the recklessness of his personal expenditure. Even his partners began to notice it.
You know, Strachey, we should have a serious talk to young Henry one of these days. Oh, why? Surely you've noticed the way he's splashing his money about this last couple of years? On the soul, some of the stories I hear about him. Oh, I shouldn't pay too much attention to them, have you? You know how gossip magnifies things. Even so, there must be a solid foundation of truth in a lot of them. You know, this establishment of his at Hampton-on-Thames, for instance, and that house he's bought at Brighton. They say some of the weekend parties he gives are quite fabulous. Oh, well, he's a young man still, and I dare say he likes to cut a bit of a dash. And all these parasites who seem to hang on to him. And his gambling. And his women. That Mary Bartram, for instance. Oh, good heavens, he broke with her a year ago. There have been others since. Mrs. Melrose and the Standish girl, to name just a couple. I don't know how he keeps up with them, I'm sure. Upon the word, I don't.
Henry's no fool when it comes to money. He's proved that to us often enough, goodness knows.
Even so, he'd need to be a millionaire to live the way he seems to. I do hope there's nothing wrong.
Wrong? What do you mean?
Well, after all, he has complete control of the bank. How can we be sure it really is his money he's spending so prodigally, and not the bank's?
Really, Sybil, that's a most outrageous suggestion. We've known Henry since he was a boy. However, we may disapprove of his private behavior, there's always... And that is his scrupulous and absolute honesty.
Nevertheless, I do think for his own good we should call him in.
You may if you choose, but I shall have nothing to do with it. After all, his personal affairs are his own, and it would be extremely presumptuous of us to interfere.
Yes, I dare say you're right. Oh, well, we'll think no more about it.
By now, Fauntleroy's forgeries had run into hundreds of thousands. The strain of being constantly on the alert was telling. His health and his nerves began to suffer. It wasn't only the need to keep one jump ahead of discovery, but the fact that there was no one in whom to confide, that he must keep the whole thing bottled inside himself, that wore him down most of all. In time, his need for a confidant became desperate. He found her at last. Her name was Maria Forbes. She was little more than a schoolgirl, but she was beautiful, and she had intelligence and sympathy. And Fauntleroy dared to hope that she loved him for himself. Even so, he hesitated for a long time until one night...
You're bed tonight, Henry?
Yes, I am, rather.
And worried, too. Well, let's not go out. I have Sarah prepare us a meal. Let's just sit by the fire and talk.
Well,
Please.
It'd be rather tedious for you, wouldn't it?
Of course not. You're in trouble of some kind, aren't you, Henry?
Trouble? What makes you think that?
You can trust me, Henry.
Yes, but how far? Suppose what I had to say to you were to put me completely in your hands, to give you the power of life or death over me.
I'd give my soul that nothing you say will ever pass my lips. Look at me. You must believe me.
Yes, I do believe you, my dear. Very well, then, I'll tell you.
And so, as they sat together in the quiet room, their faces lit only by the flickering flames of the fire, Henry Fauntleroy unburdened his soul. He held back nothing, spared himself nothing. Nor did he excuse himself. At last, it was all over.
Well, there you are, my dear. You wanted the story, and now you have it.
What you must have suffered, Henry.
I've suffered no more than I deserved. Don't you realize what I've been telling you, Maria? I've deliberately and willfully committed crime after crime after crime. If I'm ever caught, I shall be hanged.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And quite rightly.
Couldn't you replace all those bonds?
No, it's gone too far for that.
What if you sold your houses at Hampton and Brighton and realized all your assets?
My dear girl, that wouldn't repay a tenth of it, or a 20th.
How much do you owe altogether?
Oh, I've not worked it out exactly. It can't be less than £300,000.
That's a fortune.
Several fortunes.
But where's it all gone? You couldn't possibly have spent all that on yourself.
Good Lord, no, of course I haven't. But most of it's gone back into the bank to keep it safe.
How's it all going to end, Henry?
There's only one way it can end. I'm tired, my dear. The struggle is becoming too much for me. One day I'll make a blunder, and then it'll be all over.
No, you mustn't wait for that. Let's go now, while you're still free.
And leave my partners to shoulder the burden.
Well, why should you consider them? They've never considered you. We'll go there together, over to the continent somewhere. You can change your name, and we'll begin afresh.
Would you do that for me?
I'll be waiting for the man I...
Oh, Maria, you don't know what it means to hear you say that. If only we could.
Why not? What's the status? You could get away from the bank without rousing suspicion, couldn't you?
Yes, I suppose so.
Yes, Henry. Anything is better than just waiting for the crash. We could have together, I'm sure we could. Promise me you'll try.
Well, I'll think about it anyway.
To escape, that was it. The only solution. The more Fauntleroy thought about it, the more convinced he became that Maria was right. With his usual thoroughness, he began to lay his plan. He drew up a complete list of embezzled bonds. To indemnify his partners, he wrote and signed a brief confession. To
keep up the credit of our house, I have forged powers of attorney and thereupon sold out all the sons and the list appended herewith. This I have done without the knowledge of my partner, and for it I accept the full blame.
This confession and the list he locked in a tin box, which he placed in the bank safe. Even so, there was much to do before he could get away. As unobtrusively as possible, he began the immense task of straightening out his own tangled affairs. By now it was 1824, 10 years since his first fortune. So long that he saw the heat undue and possible dangerous hit, and abruptly a blow fell. A client of the bank, one Lieutenant Colonel Frank Bellis of Oxted, died, leaving £46,000 invested in 3% annuities for his wife and his family. The bonds were among those Fauntleroy had forged and sold. An executor of the estate called on the banker.
My co-executor and I have decided to relieve ourselves of the responsibility to hand over the whole estate to the Court of Chancery for administration. So, my dear sir, if you'll be good enough to have prepared a complete statement together with securities and so on.
Yes, of course. I'll have it attended to in due course.
When may I call for it? This afternoon?
No, I'm afraid I must ask you to give us a few days' grace.
But surely it is a very simple job, no more than half an hour's work.
I'm sorry, but we're extremely busy just now. I can't possibly let you have it before next Monday.
You're not being very helpful, Mr. Fauntleroy.
I assure you, sir, I'm doing the very best I can.
Oh, well, if you can't hurry it up, you can't, I suppose. I shall be here at 10 next Monday. A good day, sir.
There was only one way out to avoid detection. To raise the £46,000 somehow and rebuck the missing bonds. With grim resolve, Fauntleroy set about the task. But he might have saved himself the trouble, for even as he began to check over the securities that he might yet sell, the executor of the estate, his suspicions aroused, was at the Bank of England.
I'm sorry, sir. There's no record on the register of any 3% imperial annuities held by Mr. Bellis.
But there must be.
Study the list for yourself, sir. There is a record, however, of certain bonds having been sold on Mr. Bellis's behalf last year.
Sold? But by whom?
Mr. Fauntleroy. Here's the power of attorney with Mr. Bellis's signature.
Let me see. Why, that signature a forgery.
That's a very serious charge to make, sir.
So serious that I propose to repeat it before a magistrate. Guard that document carefully, young man. You will probably be subpoenaed to produce it a little later.
Fauntleroy was not at home when the police called that evening, but next morning as he walked into the bank.
Are you Henry Fauntleroy? Yes, I'm afraid I have a warrant for your arrest. On what charge? On a number of charges, all to do with forgeries and uttering. This is absurd. Look here, Constable, you're a good fellow. What would you say to £1,000 in cash? Oh, so now it's attempted bribery as well, eh? You'd better come along with me, and I wouldn't try any tricks if I were you.
News of Fauntleroy's arrest spread through the city like wildfire. Frantic depositors rushed to the Berners Street Bank to find the doors closed and tacked on them a notice suspending payments. The police questioning Fauntleroy continued to assert his innocence until his signed confession was found. Then he broke down and admitted everything. The trial was a sensation of the year. The newspapers had already prejudged Fauntleroy, and every breath of scandal in his private life was relentlessly dragged to light and featured in their columns. The jury was absent only 20 minutes before returning a verdict of guilty. On November the 30th, 1824, outside Newgate Prison, before a crowd of 100,000 people, Henry Fauntleroy was hanged by the neck till he was dead. In 1832, forgery ceased to be a capital crime. Fauntleroy had made one fatal mistake. He'd been found out 8 years too soon. Well, that's all for now, but I'll be back again soon to tell you some more of the secrets of Scotland Yard. Meanwhile, this is Clive Brooks saying goodbye and pleasant dreams.
The secret of Scotland Yard that I'm going to tell you today is a closely guarded one. So I'd rather you didn't spread it around if you don't mind. It seems that towards the end of the last century, the Yard had on its payroll an inspector called Duskobit, whose devotion to his bank account exceeded his devotion to duty. Let's talk about a thing. Let me put to you a problem. how does a Paris waiter rise to the title of Count? The rank of a barrister at law and the possession of £30,000. All this was done by the man whose casebook history I'm going to tell you today. His name was Henri Perrault, a waiter with ambition. Not the usual waiter's ambition, the setting up of his own cafe. As he served the customers, Henri's dreams soared far beyond the kitchens and the neat rows of tables. Nature had bestowed on him certain gifts. He was handsome, ingratiating, shrewd. He had a command of languages and, a wonderful way with women. He used these talents to the full, and he had luck on his side as well. For instance, he was questioned by Inspector Drastovich. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be talking about him. To achieve his ambitions, Henri used two methods, both requiring considerable courage. Our story opens in the summer of 1867 in that most glamorous of European capitals, Paris. At a corner table in one of the boulevard cafes, there sits an Englishman with a purpose. His name is William Cotton, and his purpose. We are just about to discover.
Oh, Garçon! Garçon! Come in, monsieur!
At your service, sir.
Garçon, est-ce que vous pouvez... monsieur would prefer to speak his native tongue? Oh, you speak English, eh?
Yes.
Well, then perhaps you're the chap I'm looking for. Name of Henry, by any chance? That is right, sir. Henri Perrault, at your service. Good. I've been told you're the chap who can help me. Not without recompense, of course. You'll not find me stingy, you know. I'm here in Paris for a week. It's my first visit to Paris. Yes. You wish to be shown the sights? Exactly. Now, Henry, I've been told that you know Paris backwards, and, that's why I want to see it. But I do not quite, too subtle for you, I expect. No, what I mean to say, none of this Eiffel Tower museum stuff for me. I want to see the places one hears about, the corners of the city hidden from the general run of the tourists. I think I understand, monsieur. You wish to see why we call Paris the city of pleasure, eh? Every kind of pleasure, eh, monsieur?
The pleasure-seeking Mr. Cotton was well satisfied with his guide, who seemed to have an inexhaustible knowledge of the shadier parts of the capital. For his part, Henri was delighted with his employer, whom he found to be a wealthy bachelor with no inhibitions about tipping. Imagine his further delight when, after a few days, the globe-trotting Englishman offered him a more permanent and rewarding form of employment, that of traveling companion and courier. Henri accepted with alacrity, and within a few days, the couple arrived at their first port of call, Constantinople.
This hotel seems quite up to date, Henry. I expected the place to be centuries out of date, but it isn't. No, indeed, monsieur, very pleasant. I hope you found my services to your satisfaction, monsieur, on the voyage. Oh, absolutely. I see no reason why the arrangement shouldn't work out perfectly. Now, where are my gloves? You are going out, monsieur, aren't you, eh? Well, no point in wasting time, Henry. And you're coming with me. I hope to nose out the spots of interest. Very well, monsieur. We are staying for some time here in Constantinople. Well, more than a night, anyway. I think I'd better carry all my money with me. You never know with these foreigners. Very wise, monsieur, very wise. One should not leave anything valuable in strange hotels. Very wise to keep it with you at all times.
It was in Constantinople that the tour came to an abrupt end. Mr. William Cotton was never seen again in Constantinople or anywhere else. Henri Perrault disappeared at the same time, but a certain Count Henri de Tourville, who turned up in Scarborough, England, later that year, bore a resemblance, quite a remarkable resemblance, to the late Mr. Cotton's traveling companion. True, Henri the Count was impeccably dressed. He carried himself with an air, and he was wealthy, as Henri the waiter had never been, until Mr. Cotton disappeared. The high society of Scarborough, that most fashionable 19th century resort, was soon agog over the Count's lavish ways.
My dear, I'm completely enchanted with this delightful ball. Why, it's as if it was season. So sweet of you to say so, Eileen. I must say it's turning out to be most successful. Every trifling England must be here tonight, and the season aboard as well. By the way, have you got that charming concertina here? My dear, I've been longing for an introduction all evening. The things I've heard of him, They say he has a house in every country of Europe, all the important ones anyway. I was so pleased he managed to come tonight. He so sought after, you know. Naturally. Half the mothers in Scarborough are praying for him to look in the direction of their daughter. Oh, look! He's coming this way. Oh, doesn't he look magnificent? Oh, do be a darling and introduce. But of course. Tom. I must say, he's a fine figure of a man. Oh, divine. Such an air. Oh, and that beard.
At your service, madame.
Oh, Eileen, may I introduce? Monsieur le Comte de Turvey. Oh, how do you do?
Great honor, Your Grace.
I've been anxious to meet you, Count. I'm hoping you'll be able to attend a little soiree I'm giving on Tuesday.
Tuesday? Your Grace, I am so sorry. I have already accepted an invitation for that day.
Oh, what a pity. Oh, but I know you're in great demand.
Everyone has been most kind. And now, if you excuse me, I hear them play the waltz, and I am engaged for this.
Not that personage Henrietta Brigham, Count.
It is rather I am to dance, madame. Excuse me.
Using every trick known to him, as a waiter, a man, and a Frenchman at that, Henri was now bent on the conquest of Miss Henrietta Brigham, a young lady who was due to inherit £30,000 on the death of her widowed mother. And that was when pounds were pounds. Whether or not the Count was influenced by that fact, he certainly made a dashing wooer and a successful one.
My darling little wife, you have made me so happy.
Oh, wasn't it a wonderful wedding, Henry? Wasn't it grand?
Everyone was most kind.
And now our honeymoon. Paris.
About that, Henrietta, it is a difficulty has arisen in the matter of transferring my money. I was wondering, do you think your mother might be willing to make me a loan?
But I'm sure she'd be delighted to, my love.
Good. I'll ask her right away. Just a little trouble, you understand, over the transfer.
The truth, of course, was that the Count, having used up all William Cotton's money in making a big splash at Scarborough, was now flat broke. Still, Mamma Brigham was only too pleased to make her son-in-law a loan. Once. But when Henri, having spent the whole sum on the honeymoon, returned with a request for more, he soon became aware of the trickiness of his position. His wife had no means of her own, and all requests had to be made to Mrs. Brigham, who not only feigned deafness on such occasions, but after a few months, horror of horrors, began hinting that repayment of the first loan would be welcome. Drastic action was obviously necessary, and in taking it, Henri the waiter was to show that no one is more ruthless than a man trying to maintain a standard of living to which he is not accustomed.
Where are you off to, Henry, dear?
It is today I pay your mother a visit, my darling, and pay her back the money. There are two things, eh?
What money? Oh, that she lent us for the honeymoon?
Yes. I had a letter yesterday asking me to loan.
Yes, you? Why, that's unlike Mamma.
I must go now, Henrietta.
Give her, my love, Henry. Tell her I'll be calling on her tomorrow, and I'll be bringing baby to see her.
Yes, my dear, I will tell her.
But, Monsieur le Comte, it is most extraordinary. Mrs. Brigham's health has been excellent. Her spirits remarkable.
But you understand, doctor. Mrs. Brigham, she said to me in her letter, "Bring me pistol. I have a fear of burglars." Well, I bring a gun with me, this gun that you see in her hand. She handle it, examine it, and suddenly it go off. And when I kneel by her side, the Lord, she is dead. A terrible accident, doctor. A terrible accident. My poor wife, she is just at the baby, you know. She will be so shocked to hear of this so terrible accident.
Not only terrible, but curious, seeing that the bullet wound was in the back of Mrs. Brigham's head. But then we have a nobleman's word for it, and the doctor had the nobleman's check for it. So the certificate was signed without delay. But after the purely formal request, Scotland Yard, interested by several suspicious letters from relatives of Mrs. Brigham, sent one Inspector Gruskovich to make some inquiries.
As these doubts have been raised, Count, I've been sent, as it were, to... Well, I can't say I like prying, sir, especially with a gentleman like you.
Tell me, Inspector, Droskovich is surely not an Englishman.
Well, now you come to mention it, sir, it isn't. I've got Russian blood in me, as a matter of fact.
Interesting. My mother, she was Russian.
Departed, sir?
Yes, Inspector, just like Mrs. Brigham.
I'm very sorry to hear it, Count. Very sorry.
Inspector Droskovich, I am certain your commissioner of police does not pay you sufficient money in your job. I would like to help you if possible.
Please keep your voice down, Count.
Oh, so sorry. I think we can come to an arrangement, you and I. So I shall be saved having to answer questions about my mother-in-law. And you, Inspector, will be spared having to ask them. Now then, very precisely. After a suitable interval, Inspector Daskovich reported to headquarters that there was no case, and the Commissioner of Police dropped the matter. Oh, by the way, Daskovich wasn't long in the force. But I'd still prefer you not to talk about it. Back in Scarborough, however, Henri was still trying to get his mother-in-law's 30,000. His countess had inherited it all right, but was showing no desire to share it with him. Many a time Henri pressed her to put some of the money at least into his account, only to be given an occasional £5 note for pocket money. Remembering Mr. William Cotton and Mrs. Brigham, we need not be surprised that Henrietta, Countess de Turville, soon became seriously ill and died, attended by the same doctor as had written the convenient death certificate for her mother. But the Count, who was bearing his grief with commendable fortitude, was destined to receive a far greater shock than the death of his wife.
My sincere condolences, Count.
Thank you. You are my wife's lawyer.
I had that privilege. I cannot tell you, Count. 2 several losses in such a short space of time. You have my duty.
You have the will that my wife left?
I have indeed. Still, how goes the phrase? In the midst of life?
Are there papers for me to sign before the money comes to me?
To your son, you mean, little Charles, sweet child.
To my son? What is this?
Your wife left the bulk of her fortune to your child, although you have a fairly large legacy. And, of course, the money would come to you in the event of your son's death. I say, Count, where are you off to? If I said the wrong thing,
I say, Count, these papers.
Well, yes.
The Parisian waiter was by no means content with the legacy. He meant to have the whole 30,000. 2 lives that had stood in his way had been snuffed out. Would there soon be another death in de Tourville's family?
Well, when I get through high school, I might try to get a job that pays 50 or 60 a week so I can get some wheels of my own. And then again, I might try to get into some college somewhere. Or I might just sort of hang around and see what happens.
Some people, when they approach the end of their high school days, just don't know what to do next. And with all the possibilities open to young people nowadays, it's easy to understand why. But here's some good advice. If you'll be finishing high school soon, don't spend the next few years just marking time. Put them to good use, preparing for the future. One excellent way to do this is by joining the United States Air Force, America's aerospace team. As an airman, you'll learn a vital aerospace skill as you start a career in one of the world's most future-oriented organizations. Ask any Air Force recruiter for the facts about the aerospace team. You can be part of it.
Henri, Count de Tourville, refused to be downhearted. He bore without a murmur the deaths of his mother-in-law and his wife. And when he realized that these deaths had risen to him and not to himself, Henri never gave way to despair. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So Henri tried his hand at arson.
I say, excuse me, it's Count de Tourville, isn't it?
I am the Count, yes.
Well, I'm from the Daily Chronicle. This, was your house, isn't it? Wasn't it, Count?
That is right. It's terrible tragedy.
Well, you seem very calm about it, Count. Is it insured?
Heavily insured, yes.
Ah. Well, was there anyone inside when it caught fire?
Myself and my small son, Charles. Unfortunately, there is no way out for him.
What? You mean he's trapped in there? But do the father know?
There is no need. They cannot get him out. He is locked in.
But have they tried, sir? Has everything possible been done? Oh, look, there's a body over there. I'll see if we can...
There is nothing he can do.
Don't give up hope, dearie. Those men can do wonders.
Perhaps. But they cannot save my son.
The bombing could have shut him dead.
Interfering fool.
There, I told you he wouldn't give up without trying.
He's going up the back way. Blimey, what's that?
They're pulling the ladder out of the side window.
They can't get my son out. They can't, I tell you. He is locked in his room. There is no way out for him.
Don't take on so dearly. Don't save him this right here.
Oh, mon Dieu, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire?
No! He's there! He's the side window! He's coming down the ladder! I can't see if he's got the key!
Yes, he's got the key in his arm. He's saved him. What a story for my paper. Copper saves Count Charles. imbécile, espèce de crétin! Idiot!
It was vexing to the Count. All that trouble over laying the fire completely wasted by an interfering policeman. The handsome ex-waiter was to be foiled again. The insurance company, instead of politely handing over the money, started asking questions. Awkward questions. Devilish awkward. Count Henri de Tourville found himself stumped for plausible answers. The company then had the gall to say that if he wanted to get any cash out of them, he'd better bring an action. Now, that was the last thing that Henri wanted. So he found a willing relative to adopt his son, and he left Scarborough, dropping his title as he went, and made his way to London.
London, August the 5th, 1871. The Home Office has granted the request of Monsieur Henri de Tourville for British citizenship. Monsieur de Tourville wishes it to be known that he is anglicizing his name to Henry de Tourville. London Chit-Chat, June 8, 1872. Among those answering the call to the bar in the Middle Temple today was that well-known figure in London society, Henry de Tourville. Mr. de Tourville explained to our representative that he had no intention of practicing. It is merely, he recorded, that I think it good to have barrister at law after my name. Incidentally, it is whispered that Mr. de Tourville is thinking of giving his name to another. We hope to be the first to announce the engagement.
But the whispers were unfounded. While he could afford to remain a bachelor, Henri de Tourville merely flirted with the many women who found him so attractive. But by 1875, his bank account was looking rather seedy, and Henri realized it was time to stop trifling and get down to business. So Mrs. Madeline Miller, a childless widow, age 45, income £7,000 a year, was asked, to her delight, to become Mrs. de Tourville.
Really, Madeleine, must we always have this Sarah, your maid, with us, even on our honeymoon?
She's been with me so long, Henry, I'd feel so lost without her.
But, my dear, a man, when he marries, wishes to be alone with his wife. I never feel, how do you say, at home when she is always at our side.
Darling, here comes the proprietor.
Madame de Tourville, and Mr. Also, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You are enjoying yourself here, sir? This beautiful country. Just right for the honeymoon, no?
Yes, indeed, yes.
You have, of course, visited Ferdinand Hurst?
I have a long time ago. I'm taking my wife tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. It will be a fine day for you.
I do so want to see the Presbyterian. I hear it's so exciting, and the view.
Oh, you shall be thrilled by the Ferdinand Hurst, madam.
Looking forward to it enormously.
Honeymoon couples like it always. It is very quiet up there on the cliffs. People can be alone, yes?
Yes, I have been there once, I told you.
Of course. Now, if you would be so kind, excuse I make arrangements for the picnic luncheon for you to take with you in the carriage.
And I must go and find Sarah and tell her about tomorrow.
Oh, Madeleine, I must tell you that the carriage tomorrow will only be big enough for you and me.
Nonsense, Henry. Surely you can get a bigger one. Sarah would so like the excursion.
But why, my darling, it will be so much nicer, just you and me alone. You and I, no one else, Madeleine. You are all I want. Just you and me, Madeleine.
Dear love, when you say it like that, what can I answer but yes?
The next morning, Henri and Madeline set off to view the famous beauty spot. As they approached the pass, de Tourville stopped the carriage and informed the coachman that he and his wife would finish the journey on foot. Nothing strange about that. It was a lovely day, and after giving them instructions, the coachman left and drove back alone. The morning passed and the afternoon, and as the evening changed to night, the proprietor of the hotel and his wife became more and more anxious.
Oh, the English milord knows that we have supper at 8. Now, it is already half an hour after 9. They should have been here long ago.
A first party should be sent to look for them.
We give them another 5 minutes. Then...
You must come quickly. My wife, my Madeleine, terrible accident. She was walking too near the edge. I told her not to go so near, but she would not listen, and then, oh, it is too terrible. We must go quickly. I know exactly where it was that she fell. Alors, I tell you, I am certain it was here.
Oh, well, do not be anxious, sir.
Oh,
he is down there. The men will find us.
Ah, here they come now. Excuse me.
Excuse me, Mr. de Tourville. The men have found the body of your wife.
Dead?
Yes, dead.
Ah, I want you to fetch up the corpse and bring it back to the hotel.
Yes, no, of course. What cannot be?
Who is this man?
This is Sergeant Magnus Fritz, sir, of the local police. The body must stay where she is.
But why is that? Why must it stay there? Nonsense!
One of my men will watch it and stay there until the affair has been investigated. Herr de Tourville, the corpse of your wife certainly not without assistance to this place came when we found it. And there are other signs. I must report this affair to my superiors. An inquiry there must be.
Finding of this court of inquiry is that the deceased lady died through an accident, and no responsibility whatever for it attached to this worthy gentleman, a visitor to our country from England, who has this court's deep sympathy in his sad bereavement. I instruct that he leaves this court a free man, that his passport be returned to him without delay.
So, for the third time, Henri went to collect the dividends from debt. Back in London, the executor of Madeline's will, having heard his sad tale, paid without hesitation to Tourville the sum of nearly £40,000. Henri's biggest jackpot yet. This most successful trickster settled down once more to his life of ease. But one evening, several months after his return to England, he was interrupted as he was dressing for dinner.
And it is really most inconvenient for me to receive a visitor at this time, my dear sir. I am sorry to be inhospitable, but...
I'm afraid you'll have to receive me, Mr. de Tourville. I am Inspector Clark, and I've come from Scotland Yard. I want you to come with me now to Bow Street.
Bow Street? Scotland Yard? Inspector? What is this? Some matter of police? I am sorry, I am just going out to dinner.
You never have to wait, sir. Some few days, perhaps. I hold a warrant for your arrest. The charge is that you murdered your wife in the Austrian Tyrol on the 16th of July, 1876.
But this is imbecilic nonsense. In any case, I was abandoned.
Abandoned, sir?
Liberated. Delivered, surrender, as you say. Set free. Free from all responsibility.
That was in Austria, Mr. de Tourville. The Bow Street magistrate wants to see you now. You'll be charged formally, and counsel will be appointed for your defense.
How do you do, Mr. de Tourville? My name is Williams, Montague Williams, QC, at your service. I'm to defend you. But I have already been defended. In Austria, I am free. Oh, don't you know, then? The case is reopened. Some of your late wife's... my condolences, by the way, sir. Your wife's relative sent a detective over to Austria recently. This detective looks into the facts of your wife's death and seems to think that she may have been pushed. So the Austrian government wants you back to try you again. But I am an Englishman. Yes, sir. And that is the reason why they are to try you to see whether there is any prima facie case against you, enough to justify extradition. And if I am sent to Austria and they try me again and they find me guilty, how will the Austrians punish me? They'll hang you, sir. They'll hang you.
Montague Williams, QC, perhaps because he wasn't a woman, was not completely covered by Henri. In fact, during the London trial, he wrote a description of his client in a letter to a friend.
The accused's hair, moustache, and other hirsute appendages are of a glossy blackness that is suggestive of a meretricious application. His manner in court is jaunty, and he waves his winged hands to his friends in a fashion which I considered unbecoming. His shirt front literally twists. I feel instinctively that there is something of a cad about him. In spite of this, I naturally should defend him to the best of my ability, but the evidence is false.
KOGO, San Diego.
Prisoner was limping. His clothes were torn, his face and arms were bruised. But he said he had immediately come to the hotel after the accident. This woman was lying on the ground at the top of the precipice, not near the body. She had not been stopped by the rocks while falling, there is strange.
In the dirt near the corpse, marks were found showing that it had along the ground been dragged after falling down.
And in view of all these circumstances, I find there is a prima facie case against the prisoner. In accordance, therefore, with the treaty of extradition with Austria, he must hereupon be surrendered to the Austrian authorities.
Scotland Yard sent Inspector Clark to Henri's last trial in Vienna. He took with him the skull of Mrs. Brigham and the evidence gathered by the insurance company concerning the fire in Sabra. Hundreds of depossessions were read, dozens of witnesses heard. Henri himself made a speech, at the end of which the judge told him he talked too much. Finally, Henri Perrault, alias Henri de Tourville, was sentenced to death. But Lady Luck gave him a last gift, and the sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. Plenty of time for Henri to reflect that although serving drinks in a Paris cafe has some drawbacks, serving sentences at the Vienna prison has no advantages. And by the way, do keep quiet about Inspector Druskowitz. That's one of the secrets Scotland Yard really likes to keep. Well, that's all for now. I'll be back again soon to tell you some more of the secrets of Scotland Yard. Meanwhile, this is Cy Brooks saying goodbye and pleasant dreams. Pleasant dreams.
How do you do? This is Clive Brooks. There was a Roman proverb which said, "A woman's jealousy sets the whole house on fire." Now, the status of the fair sex has changed a great deal since the days of ancient Rome, and a woman's reasons for jealousy in the 20th century are far fewer. Gone is the legal description of her as goods and chattels. No longer need she envy the male his ability to vote. She can vote too. Today she can go out into the world and have a career. She can earn a lot of money and pay a lot of income tax. She can even wear trousers in more ways than one. She can even wear shorts. Well, let's not go into that. On the other hand, she can still be jealous about another woman, and the strength of her jealousy then can still set the house on fire. The green-eyed monster still has the power to bring tragedy into her life and the lives of her nearest and dearest. Yes, even today, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And, of course, it never really matters whether she is being scorned or not. If she thinks she is, that's enough. It was enough in the case I'm going to tell you about today. The case of a beautiful society queen who thought her lover was being unfaithful. The case that puzzled the experts of Scotland Yard and provided one of the most sensational Old Bailey trials of the 1930s. There can be only one title for it. The Case of the Green-Eyed Monster. It is the evening on May the 30th, 1932. From one of the flats in Williams Mews, London, comes the sound of a very gay cocktail party. The houses are in such close proximity that you might at first wonder in which of the flats the party was being given. But, of course, anyone living in the Mews would be quick to tell you the hostess is bound to be Mrs. Barney. Mrs. Elvira Dolores Barney, the brightest of the bright young things of London in the 30s.
wonderful party, this, don't you think?
Yes, it seems to be going quite well.
Our hostess would appear to have an unlimited quantity of drink. I can't say I admire her taste in furniture, though.
Why? What's wrong with it?
Rather gaudy, don't you think? Rather bad taste, I'd say.
Do you know who your hostess is?
Some Mrs. Barney, isn't it? You see, I came with a friend.
Do you know who I am? Do you?
No, I'm afraid I...
Mrs. Barney, your hostess.
Oh, Lord. And do you know who I am?
No.
Morty, over here a moment. I must speak to you.
What's the matter, Gerald?
Oh, I say, Morty, you should never have brought me. I just made the most frightful gaffe. I never realized who this Barney woman was, and I was talking to her just now.
Really, Gerald? Not know Dolly Barney? I thought everyone knew her.
She's extremely beautiful.
Yes, dear, and extremely rich. But I'm afraid your prospects of success are practically nil where she's concerned. Dolly has eyes for no one but the young man she's talking to now, Michael Stevens.
Looks to me as though they're having a quarrel.
She keeps him on the end of a string, Gerald. Do you realize we're practically the last people here? Come on, we must go. Goodbye, Dolly. Goodbye. Goodbye. We must go now, Dolly. It's been delightful. I'm very glad you enjoyed it, Morty. Give me a ring sometime.
Goodbye, Mrs. Barney.
Goodbye.
I say, can I give anybody a lift in my car? How about you, Mr. Stevens, isn't it?
All right, thank you.
Michael, you're staying for a moment, aren't you? I want to give you that book you lent me.
Right you are, Dolly.
Oh, dear. See, I put my foot in it again. Well, cheerio.
Come on, Joe. All gone at last. Who was that oaf who offered you a lift?
Never seen him before in my life.
Well, never mind him. I'd like to know what you meant by spending the whole evening talking to that Janet. Janet, whatever her name is.
Why shouldn't I talk to her?
You're not in love with her by any chance.
Really, Dolly, you're being absurd. You asked me to your party. Wasn't I supposed to talk to your guest?
I noticed you say guest, in the plural. I didn't see you talking to anyone but her. You made me look an absolute fool.
You seem to think you can own me or something.
I practically do. Who paid for that very smart dinner jacket, I should like to know? Who slips you a few pounds so you won't be embarrassed by my paying at the restaurant we go to? Who sees to it that you get the 101 little things you could never afford to buy yourself?
It has never been discovered exactly how this ugly little scene developed. Neighbors, hearing the shouting voices from Mrs. Barney's flat, looked at each other and smiled wearily, for they'd grown used to the frequent rows that took place between the glamorous Dolores and the young Michael Stevens. But what made them realize that this quarrel was more serious than the others was when they heard...
No, Dolly, don't! Let me have it! No, Dolly!
Michael! Michael, are you hurt? Michael!
The doctor! It's the doctor! Hurry, Dolly, hurry!
Yes, darling. I'm ringing him. Oh, Michael, darling.
The doctor. Fetch him for me, Dolly, please. The doctor.
Hello. Dr. Barrett. Doctor, it's Mrs. Barney speaking. Doctor, you must come at once.
When Dr. Durrant arrived at Mrs. Barney's flat, he found Michael Stevens dead. His body was lying on the first floor landing, his head supported by two blood-stained pillows. The left arm was outstretched and the right lay across the body. On the floor, close to the left hand, was a small black revolver. The doctor moved nothing and immediately called the police in spite of the shrieking protests of Mrs. Barney. It was not long before Detective Inspector Winter was on the scene. He brought with him the famous pathologist, Sir Bernard Spilsbury, who proceeded to examine the body. Leaving Sir Bernard at his task, Winter went downstairs to the lounge to ask Mrs. Barney a few questions.
Oh, Mrs. Barney, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you one or two things.
Give me a cigarette, will you?
Certainly.
Had a party tonight. Guest smoked me out.
Oh, light?
Thanks. What do you want to know?
Well, firstly, perhaps, the name of the deceased.
He's a friend of mine, Michael Stevens.
Now, tell me quite calmly exactly what happened.
Why should I? Get out of here, you snooping wretch. Get out, do you hear me? Get out!
Now, Mrs. Barney, I know you're upset.
Upset?
But I'm
That's a fine way of putting it. What would you say?
Excuse me. I'll answer it if you don't mind.
Why should you answer it? It's still my flat, isn't it?
Hello? Oh, Inspector Winter of Scotland Yard. Oh, Lady Mullins. Oh, I'm afraid your daughter can't speak to you at the moment.
You vile scummy. It's my mother. Here, give me that thing. Let me speak to her. Hello. Mummy? Mummy, darling. You must come at once.
must stop this. Give me the receiver. That's right.
Now that you know that my mother is Lady Mullen, perhaps you'll be a bit more careful what you say and do.
I'm sorry. If you can't answer my questions calmly, I'll have to take you along to the station. Come along now. Please don't make any trouble.
Take your filthy hands off me! There! Don't you dare try and touch me again.
I shouldn't behave like this if I were you, Mrs. Barney. It won't look too good in the report. Come along now. The less trouble you make, the sooner we'll be through.
Dolores Barney calmed down considerably at the police station and gave Inspector Winter her version of what had occurred. She admitted ownership of the pistol and said she kept it behind a cushion on the chair by her bed. She'd had a quarrel that night with Stevens about another woman and had threatened to commit suicide. Stevens, to prevent her carrying out the threat, had taken the revolver from its hiding place and gone to the door. Mrs. Barney had followed him.
I followed him. And then I remember struggling with him. And suddenly I heard a shot. And then he asked for the doctor.
Now, Mrs. Barney, you've been very cooperative, and I'm going to allow you to return home. But first I want to ask you this. You say a struggle took place after Stevens took the gun from his hiding place. It was quite a violent struggle?
Yes.
Where did it take place?
First of all in my bedroom, then in the spare room.
And when the revolver went off, who was holding it?
Look, I'm done in. Have you a cigarette on you?
Oh, sorry, yes. Here you are. Now, it's very important. Try to remember if you can.
Thanks. Who was holding... Why, Michael was. He had it all the time. I was trying to get it away from him.
I see. Thank you, Mrs. Barney. Your mother's waiting outside. You may go with her.
The next step was to examine the report by Sir Bernard Spilsbury. As always in shooting cases, the pathologist first gave his findings and then completed his report with a theory as to the way in which death occurred. Sir Bernard's theory did not quite fall in with Mrs. Barney's story.
The absence of scorching on the clothing round the bullet track, together with the distribution of smoke, indicate that the weapon was fired between 3 and 6 inches from the chest. Stevens must have been standing up, as the blood flowed from the chest wound down the front of the body. In a standing position, it would have been extremely difficult for him to hold the weapon in the position necessary to produce this injury. It is far more probable that the butt was held by another person, and it seems unlikely that Stevens was holding even the barrel, for if he had been, his fingers and hand would have been blackened by the discharge. In fact, it seems extremely unlikely to me that Stevens was holding or touching the weapon in any way when he received the injury.
It was obvious that either Sir Bernard's theory of the shooting was mistaken, or else Dolores Barney was lying. Inspector Winter returned to the scene of the crime, intent on finding a clue to show that a struggle had taken place. While at Mrs. Barney's flat, he noticed that although the drawing room was a shambles, obviously due to the cocktail party, the bedroom and the spare room, where Mrs. Barney had said the struggle had taken place, was remarkably tidy. Inspector Winter made a phone call.
Hello? Is that the morgue? Detective Inspector Winter here. Yes, the Michael Stevens case. You have the list of effects? The clothes. No, don't bother to read it out. Only one item interests me at present. What sort of shoes was he wearing? I see. You'd say that if wearing those shoes he'd had a struggle in a room with a linoleum floor covering, he'd have left some marks, scratches or something? Definitely would have left marks. I see. Thank you. Goodbye. And yet there isn't the slightest scratch.
Inspector Winter realized that there was to be no cut-and-dried solution to this case. Had Dolores Barney really threatened suicide? What was the reason for the quarrel? Who had been holding the gun? Had there been a struggle? If the answers to these questions couldn't be found at the scene of the crime, perhaps they'd be revealed in the examination of the habits and past conduct of the glamorous hostess and our young friend. The celebrity-loving Mrs. Barney was going to have her full share of the limelight. Detective Inspector Winter, searching for anything that might throw light on the shooting of Michael Stevens, began inquiring into the victim's past relations with Dolly Barney. In the course of his inquiry, he discovered that the police had been called to the lady's flat twice in the past month. Once when neighbors complained of drunkenness and noise from people leaving the flat, and once when Mrs. Barney herself had called them to get rid of Stevens, who had refused to leave her flat when she asked. Winter found some other interesting evidence from one of Mrs. Barney's more observant neighbors, Mrs. Hall, a chauffeur's wife.
Well, there was a time, about 10 days ago, when there was a dreadful quarrel going on. Their voices could be heard all over the square, I should think. Anyway, when the row was over, the young man, Stevens, was leaving the flat. That Mrs. Barney leaned out of the window shouting and screaming. She was only half-dressed, Inspector, and then she fired her gun at him.
And can you remember what it was that she shouted?
Yes, Inspector. It was unusual enough for it to stick in my mind. Just before she fired, she shouted, "Laugh, baby, laugh for the last time."
For the last time. Now, on that night that Mr. Stevens was actually killed, did you hear anything unusual?
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, no, that's just the point. It's not at all unusual. They were so often shouting at each other, you see.
Yes, but was there anything particular that either of them said that you remember?
I heard Mrs. Barney scream, "I will shoot you."
I will shoot you. Thank you, Mrs. Hall.
Detective Inspector Winter realized that if Mrs. Hall's statement was accurate, the theory of attempted suicide, struggle, and accidental death was scarcely tenable. Once more, he returned to the flat, and once more his search was not in vain. Near the ceiling of one of the bedroom walls, he found the mark of a bullet. Now, one of the neighbors, a Mr. Kiff, had claimed that he heard 2 shots on the fatal night, and the bullet mark seemed to substantiate this evidence and throw further doubt on Mrs. Barney's story. By now, the case was a sensation of London. Dolly Barney's many friends at last had something really exciting to talk about.
The whole of her private life displayed for the entertainment of the public. What's that, darling? No, but did you see the evening paper? My dear, a headline across the front page. Where is it now? Oh, here we are. Police find love letter from shooting victim. I must say he seems to be very fond of her. Listen to this. Take care of yourself for me, 'cause you are mine. Forgive me all the dreadful things I've done, baby. I wonder what he was referring to.
High Park! Mrs. Barney arrested, charged with murder. High Park! All the ladies in Barney case. High Park!
First time I've ever known someone who's been arrested for murder. Spotted soda now, please. Well, of course, I didn't know her well, but I was at her party the night that it happened. Jolly good party, too. I remember she was keeping her eye on this chap Stevens the whole time. Don't remember much else. Her drinks were rather strong. I say it'd be rather exciting if she goes to the Old Bailey, won't it? Well, cheerio.
On examining Mrs. Barney after her arrest, the prison doctor found several bruises on her arms and one large recent bruise on her right thigh. This was, of course, evidence for the defense in supporting her story of the struggle. Little new evidence was brought forward at the police court inquiry, the result of which was that Dolly Barney was committed for trial at the Old Bailey. The trial took place on July the 4th, 1932. On that hot summer's day, every inch of space in the courtroom was occupied, mainly by fashionably dressed young ladies who behaved throughout as if they were witnessing the first night of a review, rather than the fight of a woman for her life. Sir Percival Clark, opening for the Crown, scored heavily with his first 2 witnesses, Sir Bernard Spilsbury and the firearms expert, Mr. Churchill. Both men were firm in their doubts of a struggle having taken place. But Sir Patrick Hastings for the defense found early support for his client's explanation when he cross-examined Detective Inspector Winter.
Will you agree that if one person handled a gun and fired it, his fingerprints would be found upon it?
Yes, Sir Patrick.
But if there was a struggle and both parties handled a gun, no fingerprints would be clearly discernible.
That is correct.
When you went to the accused's flat, did you examine the revolver for fingerprints?
I did.
And did you find only one set of fingerprints clearly defined?
Yes, my own, no others.
And yet you handled the revolver with great care?
Yes.
Much weight was put by the prosecution on the evidence of Mrs. Hall, the chauffeur's wife, who said that on the 19th of May, Mrs. Barney had leaned out of the window, fired her revolver at Michael Stevens. No opposition was made to this evidence until Sir Patrick Hastings called the prisoner. Every neck in court craned forward. Every eye followed her as Dolores Barney left the dock and walked across to the witness box. With a wardress on either side of her, she looked a lonely and pitiful creature as she took the oath. When she looked up, the first person she saw was her mother. For a moment, the hushed court thought that she was about to break down. But under Sir Patrick's gentle guidance, she was soon giving her evidence quietly and calmly.
Now, Mrs. Barney, I want you to cast your mind back to the first occasion on which you fired the revolver on May the 19th, 10 days before Stevens was killed. But, first of all, tell the court this. Was not one of the causes of unhappiness between you and Michael Stevens the fact that he used to go out with a certain person and gamble?
Yes. I didn't like him doing it.
That particular person was a woman?
Yes.
When Stevens wanted money for these occasions, whom did he come and ask for it?
He asked me.
On this evening, May the 19th, did he call up to your window and ask for money?
Yes. And I refused to give it to him.
And then what did you do?
We had a quarrel earlier in the day about this woman. I was so unhappy about it that I thought I'd make him think I was going to commit suicide. So I fired the revolver.
Did you fire the revolver at Stevens?
No. I fired just anywhere at random in my room. Then I realized that he might think I was dead, so I went to the window and leaned out. He saw me, and nothing more happened that night.
When was the bullet mark made that was found on your bedroom wall?
On that occasion.
This seemed quite a plausible explanation of the bullet mark, and was consistent with Mrs. Barney's alleged threats to commit suicide. But even if the jury believed her story, a great deal more would have to be done before they'd forget the evidence of the experts concerning the firing of the gun 10 days later, on May the 30th, when Stevens was killed, or the evidence of Mrs. Hall, who said she heard the prisoner shouting, "I will shoot you," during the quarrel that night. Sir Patrick proceeded to take his client through her story of that fatal quarrel. It was exactly the story she had told the police.
And then I remember struggling with him, and suddenly I heard a shot.
Have you ever, in your life, desired to shoot Michael Stevens?
No, never.
Did you shoot him that night?
No.
Had you any motive for shooting him?
Of course not.
Did he speak to you before he died?
He said, "I wish the doctor would hurry. I want to tell him that it was an accident and that it wasn't your fault." He repeated it over and over again.
This ended the evidence for the defense. It says much for Mrs. Barney that she stuck to her original story to the end. The Percival clerk for the Crown cross-examined her with great thoroughness. Not one point did he let slip by without questioning.
And I suggest that you fired at him on May the 19th from your window.
No, I fired in my room just to frighten him, to make him think I would commit suicide.
10 days later, on May the 30th, after the party, you had a violent quarrel with him. You were jealous of his behavior, were you not?
Yes. I threatened to kill myself.
Then why did you say during the quarrel, "I will shoot you"?
I never said that.
Do you dare to deny that you said, or rather shouted, those words?
I might have said, "I will shoot myself," but never, "I will shoot you."
After the cross-examination, worn out and in tears, Dolores Barney returned to the dock to await the final stages of the trial. She must have been depressed to hear the logical and forceful argument that the prosecution presented in its closing speech to the jury.
And then there was this quarrel. The man said he would leave her for that other woman. What is more likely to make a woman lose her control of herself? There is not the slightest doubt that the revolver, when fired, was in Mrs. Barney's hand, and that it was her finger that was on the trigger. Furthermore, if the hand of the deceased was on the gun when it was fired, his hand must have been blackened. And yet we know that his hands were found to be clean. Everything points to the fact that she believed her lover to be going to some other woman, and that she fired in that attitude of mind towards him that amounts to murder.
Sir Patrick Hastings now rose to make his final plea for the defense. He pointed out how unsure the neighbors had been as to the exact words and noises they'd heard on May the 30th, and how Mrs. Barney had been consistent in her tale from beginning to end. And finally, he cast scorn on the theory of the prosecution that there had been no struggle.
I ask you,
Is it likely that a tall, muscular man like Stevens would let a fragile woman shoot him, standing 3 inches in front of him, without raising a finger to defend himself? No one has given evidence to show that Michael Stevens was not shot in the way Mrs. Barney says he was. Further, members of the jury, if anyone had come into this court and said that the revolver was not likely to go off in a struggle, I would have asked him to take it, load it, and struggle for it with one of the ushers. Would he have said, yes, it is quite safe? No. He would have said, no, thank you. Let the 2 ushers go and struggle between themselves. I am not going to ask you for the benefit of the doubt or for a lenient view of what has happened. I claim that on the evidence, Mrs. Barney is entitled, as of right, to a verdict in her favor.
Mr. Justice Humphreys summed up the case to the jury in his impartial way, and then sent them out to consider which of 3 verdicts they should return: guilty of murder, guilty of manslaughter, or not guilty of any offense. For 2 hours, the courtroom buzzed with the chatter of the spectators.
I say, Maud, did you realize that we've been in on this case from beginning to end?
Yes, rather, Gerald. Why, I've been dining out for weeks on the fact that I was at Dolly's last party. What do you think the jury will say? I thought the judge was against her, didn't you?
No, I couldn't make out whether he thought her guilty or merely immoral.
I saw a wonderful film last night at the Polytechnic in Regent Street, and halfway through I thought that Dolly ought to have seen it too.
Why? What film was it?
The Man I Killed. Gerald, can I give you a lift after this is over?
No, dear, I shall have to dash home and change. I'm going to Elsie's celebration party tonight.
Oh, I hadn't been invited? What's she celebrating?
Well, she hopes the release of Dolly Barney.
Oh, I think that's just asking for trouble. What if Dolly is convicted?
Oh, then I suppose we'll celebrate something else. It's usually something. Oh, here comes the jury.
Members of the jury, are you agreed upon your verdict? We are. Do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty of murder? We find her not guilty. Silence in court. Members of the jury, do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty of manslaughter? Not guilty.
It seems your Elsie will have something to celebrate after all, Gerald.
Rather jolly good show, eh? I say, look, Dolly Barney's faint.
And thus ended the case of the beautiful Dolores Barney, whose worst fault was her jealousy. In this connection, it's interesting to read one of her letters to Stevens, written after an earlier quarrel. In it she says, "Don't be too jealous with me, baby, please. If you trust me, you won't need to feel jealous. Jealousy absolutely ruined my marriage, and it leads to all kinds of misery. So do be a bit broad-minded. I won't let you down." What a pity she couldn't have taken her own advice. But then, that's something very few of us are able to do. And, incidentally, even fewer can resist the green-eyed monster when he tempts us. Well, that's all for now, but I'll be back again soon to tell you some more of the secrets of Scotland Yard. Meanwhile, this is Clive Brooks saying goodbye and pleasant dreams.
Come on, fellows. Places. Let's get the drama rolling.
How do you do? This is Clyde Brooks speaking. Do you believe there's such a thing as a perfect murder? I do. In fact, I'm positive there are men walking about freely today who've committed murder and got away with it. Oh, yes, and women, too. They get away with murder. And how? These people who commit the perfect murder think they're pretty clever. Well, of course they are, in a way, let's face it. But murder breeds murder. Chances are they'll try the same thing again. This is where most of them are not so clever. Murders of this sort, what should we call them? Multiple murderers, habitual murderers, whatever you like, have a way of repeating their crime in exactly the same detail. We can't tell what goes on in their crazy minds, but probably they feel that to make any change would be risky. And one slip, just one slip, means the noose or the electric chair for them. Of course, they're wrong. Generally, fatally wrong. Sooner or later, someone is going to spot the fact that a number of murders have been committed that have a sameness about them. And that is where the crime ceases to be perfect. The pattern has been discovered, and of course the next step is the discovery of the murderer himself. The casebook history of George Joseph Smith is a perfect example. In July 1915, he was put on trial at the famous Old Bailey for drowning his wives in bathtubs. Yes, you heard right. Wives, not just one of them. George Joseph Smith was a man of many marriages. Perfectly ordinary-looking fellow, except for his eyes. He had the most amazing hypnotic eyes. You'll probably never know just how many women he fooled with his smooth manners and loving words. And those eyes of his. His technique was always the same. He would propose marriage to a woman he knew had a bit of money put by. They'd be married, and Smith would manage to get hold of his wife's money. And then disappear. Sometimes his wife had more money than he thought at the time of the marriage, sometimes less. And this happened with Betty Mundy. Smith had married her in 1910 using the name of Henry Williams and gave his occupation as picture restoring. They were married only a few days after their meeting. You see, Smith knew that her dead father had left her about £2,500 in gilt-edged securities. A nice, tidy little packet, thought Smith. But he found it wasn't so easy for him to lay hands on it. One morning, Bessie came home from a visit to the trustees who managed her estate.
Bessie?
Yes, dear?
What luck did you have?
Well, it's not very good news, Henry, dear. You're going to be disappointed, I'm afraid.
You mean they won't let you have the money?
No, they won't.
But your own money? Your father left it to you. What's the good of having money if you can't spend it?
Well, the trustees said the principal has to be held in trust for me. There's no way I can have it all at once. But I still get my income of £8 every month.
£8? That's not enough. How can I buy that picture at £8? The old man wants nearly 200 for it. If I had that picture, I know I could sell it again and get twice that for it. Make 100% profit and buy you some really pretty things.
Henry, dear, would he sell you the picture for £135?
No. Good heavens. Where'd you get that money? I thought you said...
I was saving the good news for the last. This is my small monthly income that's been piling up. I got it this morning from the trustees.
£135, eh?
Yes. I was going to spend it on my wedding trousseau, but we were married in such a hurry. You just swept me off my feet.
No, I couldn't take the chance of losing a little smasher like you. We're going to be very happy together, aren't we?
That's what I told the trustees, darling. They were afraid you might be a fortune hunter just after my money.
A likely tale.
Anybody could tell just by looking at you how wrong they are.
Darling. I say, Betty, if you don't mind my borrowing that money from you, I'll just nip out and bargain with the old man for his picture. Perhaps I can get the less than he's asking.
What a clever man you are. Hurry back, dear. I'll be waiting.
But George Joseph Smith had no intention of buying it, and he didn't come back. Now, Bessie wasn't the first woman he tricked just as easily as that, nor the last. There was the widow at Brighton, from whom he got £100.
The young bride he took to visit the National Gallery, left her waiting for him while he skipped off with securities worth £270. There was another woman named Edith Pegler. Smith had married her in Bristol, and it was to her he went back each time after one of his escapades. Was she his one true love? He never defrauded her or ill-treated her in any way. No, he read Shakespeare to her in the garden and played the piano. With his ill-gotten gains, he set up a second-hand furniture store, and she ran it for him during his many absences. Curiously enough, he never knew the true source of his income. Whenever he chose to come back, she was content just to welcome him. She was a woman who never asked questions. Obviously, of course, the only one of her kind that ever existed. One day, Smith, off on one of his periodic business trips, happened to be in Weston-super-Mare, when, in a crowded, narrow street, and before he could do anything about it, he met Bessie. His most embarrassing moment, you say? Not a bit. He told Bessie he'd been looking for her everywhere. Where on earth had she got to? He told Bessie that, and he made it stick. What exactly he said to her, how in the world he explained away the fact that he'd never tried to get in touch with her friends or relations, we shall never know. But it just shows you the power that Smith had over women. So Bessie and her over-married husband were reunited. They took a house on a year's lease and moved in. Edith, his other wife, no doubt continued to sell second-hand furniture. No comparison. Smith was very hard up at this time. He found out that the only way he could get hold of his wife's money was to have mutual wills made between husband and wife, each leaving the other all they possessed. If either should die, their possessions would go to the other. If Bessie should die... On July the 8th, the bills were signed. A few days later, Smith, calling himself Williams, you remember, took Bessie to see a doctor.
Well, what seems to be the trouble, Mr. Williams? It's the wife, Doctor. She seems quite all right, but yesterday she had a fit.
A fit?
Yes, went all sort of straight, and her eyes were staring. And then she got the shakes. It was awful, Doctor. Scared me stiff.
How very distressing.
The strange part is that I remember nothing about it at all.
No, one usually doesn't.
I just had a slight headache yesterday, but I feel perfectly all right now. Really, I do.
All the same, I think we'd better give you a thorough going over, Mrs. Williams. Don't you think so? Just to be on the safe side, you know. But whichever side, safe side, inside or outside, the doctor could find nothing wrong with easy-going, unsuspecting Bessie. I'm sure you have no cause to be alarmed. Just take things quietly for a while, Mrs. Williams. Try to relax and don't worry about anything.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. I will.
I'll give your husband a bottle of medicine for you. So just a sedative, something to quieten the nerves.
I'll look after her, Doctor. She'll be all right. Won't you, Bessie?
Yes, Henry, dear. I know you'll take good care of me.
2 days later, Smith and Bessie returned home from a second visit to the doctor.
But I'm so worried, Henry. I never had fits before. Nobody in our family ever had fits.
Now, Bessie, you mustn't worry. The doctor says there's nothing really wrong with you. These things just happen sometimes.
It's so confusing. I don't ever remember anything about having these fits. Afterwards, I mean.
Well, you get to bed early tonight and have a good rest. And tomorrow, if you find your headache coming on again, I'll fix you a nice hot bath. That'll be just the thing. A nice hot bath. There. It's almost full enough.
It's a lovely bath, Henry. I think you were so clever to get such a bargain.
Yes, but it's a £0.5 cheaper than the fellow was asking. After all, I have to be careful how I spend your money.
Oh, it isn't my money, Henry. It's our money.
Yes, dear. And remember, very shortly I shall have money of my own again. If all goes well.
I'm sure it will. Someday we'll have a bath that doesn't have to be filled by hand. One of those modern ones, won't you?
Yes, dear. There. That's nice and warm, isn't it?
Perfect, Henry, dear. You're so good to me.
Now, you get in and just lie there and relax. Put all your worries out of your mind and just relax. There's nothing to worry about anymore. Doctor, what took you so long? I can't get Bessie out of the bath. She's laying there with her head under the water. I came as fast as I could. Oh, where is she? In here. Help me lift her. Oh, she's a dead weight. Must be unconscious. I only left her for a minute. She must have had another fit. Now, put her down on the floor gently. I'll try artificial respiration. But it was too late. There was nothing the doctor could do. She was dead. There were no bruises on the body, and the verdict at the inquest was that Bessie had died accidentally through an epileptic seizure which had caused her to fall back under the water. The doctor's testimony that he'd been treating her for fits carried great weight. Although Smith appeared greatly shocked at his loss, he spent only 7 guineas on the funeral, and the very next day started to get probate for the will. He eventually got all Bessie's money. He went back to Bristol and to his wife Edith, the woman who never outpressed him. He told her he'd been on a long business trip to Canada on the matter of a Chinese image, which he had sold very successfully. He soon lost most of that money in a real estate deal and went off on another business trip. Her name was Alice Burnham, 25-year-old nurse, and as usual, they were married a few days after their meeting. Alice had very little money, and so before their marriage, Smith took the precaution of having her life insured for £500. 2 days after her will was made in his favor, the honeymoon couple went to Blackpool, where they took lodgings with a Mrs. Crossley. To her relatives, Alice wrote long letters of praise about the best husband in the world, and how well he was taking care of her. He was. But she didn't mention the fact that she started to have fits. Oh, yes, Smith had obviously decided he was on a good thing. The ideal way of making money without too much trouble for himself. Of course, it included murder, but with the poor dear so eager to do what he told them, it was all just... On the second evening of their stay in Blackpool, Smith came to the landlady with a request.
Mrs. Crosby, my wife was wondering if you'd do her a favor.
Such a pretty young girl, Mr. Smith. I'd be glad to.
So we're going out for a short walk, and she'd be very glad if you'd let her have a bath when you return.
Why, certainly, Mr. Smith. I'll have my daughter attend to it at once.
No hurry. We won't be back for an hour or so. If you could just have the water nice and hot.
Oh, there's nothing like an hot bath, is there? So relaxing. It takes your mind off all your worries.
Yes, indeed. I quite agree with you.
Another bride, another bath, another murder. Alice Burnham died in her bath. The verdict of the coroner's court was accidental death. George Joseph Smith chalked up 2 perfect murders to his discredit and went back to his wife Edith in Bristol. He told her his business trip this time had taken him to Spain. Again, she believed him implicitly, asked no questions. What a woman! And what a man! Or what a devil was this so-called husband of hers who went by the good, honest, everyday English name of Smith. Those eyes of his filled some people with cold fear, others with a blind faith in him and an eagerness to do whatever he wanted them to. It wasn't always necessary for Smith to go in for murder. He preferred, if possible, and it was that trouble, just to vanish out of the lives of his victims, with, of course, whatever cash or valuables he could pry loose from them. Once, when he returned to Edith Pegler, he brought her the complete trousseau of the woman he had just deserted, saying he'd made a good business deal in second-hand clothes. Margaret Lofty was the next of his bride. On the very day of their marriage, Smith took her to a London doctor with the usual complaint of a fit. Next morning, she went to a solicitor and made a will in her husband's favor. Need I add that her life had already been insured for the nice, comfortable sum of £700? In the parlor of a London lodging house, Smith is playing on a small harmonium, waiting for the bride he married yesterday. And where is she? Yes, you're right, upstairs, taking a bath. The landlady heard the music stop, and then the front door slammed. A few minutes later, she answered the ring of the front door bell and found Mr. Smith, whom she knew as John Lloyd, standing on the steps.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Lloyd.
Yes, I just popped out to buy some tomatoes for my wife's supper. She's very partial to fried tomatoes.
Now, is that thoughtful of you? I'll find some to go with your supper. It's nearly ready.
Has my wife come down yet?
No, haven't seen her.
I'll just nip up and tell her she'd better hurry.
I did enjoy your playing, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you. Margaret! Margaret, are you ready yet? Margaret! Mrs. Black! Mrs. Black! Come and help me. He's fainted in the barn.
Another of his brides accidentally drowned in her bath. I can hear you asking, how long can this devil keep on getting away with it? Remember what I said about the danger of repeating a successful murder? You're bound to be found out. A few days later, Inspector Neal came into his office at Scotland Yard.
Good morning, Sergeant. Anything interesting in the press today?
Good morning, Inspector Neal. Well, I haven't opened all the letters yet. So far, there's 4 inquiries about missing persons.
Yes?
Another plaintive note from Mrs. Dora, who wants to know why we haven't found our missing Pekingese dog.
Oh.
And a letter from a man warning us to be ready for the end of the world on Saturday.
I don't believe it's true, do you?
A bit rough, wouldn't it? Saturday's payday.
Well, write and tell him so.
Wait a minute. This looks interesting, sir. Letter here from a man who runs a lodging house in Blackpool. He's enclosed a newspaper clipping about an inquest on a woman's death 3 years ago, in which one of his lodgers was involved. Verdict of accidental drowning in a bath.
Let's see that letter. I'll say. Yes, he read in the papers about another accidental drowning of the same kind in London a few days ago. Both women supposed to have had epileptic fits. Could it be only coincidence? Well, why not? People have fits all over the place. Why not fits in their bath?
True enough. All right, well, that's that.
No. Look into it. I don't know why. Look into it. Mr. name and Mr. Crowley of Blackpool. And we'll check through the files to see how many more accidents of this sort there's been.
It was as close as that. The murder almost escaped notice even after Scotland Yard was told about it. But, of course, once they started on the trail, it was all up with our hypnotic friend. What was he doing meanwhile? Snug in his cozy home with Edith Pegler, the wife who never asked questions, you remember. But this time, I'm afraid she must have asked one or two, because he was planning, what do you suppose?
How's your headache now, Edith, dear?
I'm afraid it really isn't any better. Sorry to be such a nuisance.
Not a bit of it, dear. We'll have you fixed up in no time. I'll tell you what to do. Run upstairs and draw a nice hot bath.
A bath?
Yes, Edith. A bath.
That's a bit of a surprise coming from you.
What do you mean?
You've always been so funny about me having baths. I remember ever so many times you warning me that too many baths aren't good for a woman.
Well, I've changed my mind now.
After all these years, please do something.
Now run along, dear, like a good girl. We'll have your headache cured in no time.
Yes, dear. You always take such good care of me.
Edith.
Yes?
Call me just when you're ready to get into the bath.
All right, dear.
Who the perishing blazes can that be? All right, I'm coming. Who are you? What do you want?
Are you George Joseph Smith?
Yes.
We're police officers from Scotland Yard. I hold a warrant for your arrest. And it's my duty to warn you that anything you say may be taken down and used in evidence against you.
You've heard the expression, saved by the bell. If ever a woman was saved by the bell, it seems to me it was Edith Pegler. What do you think? Scotland Yard rang the doorbell just in time. Otherwise, Smith would have had one more murder to answer for. The trial caused a sensation throughout Great Britain. The courtroom was always crowded with spectators, mostly women, by the way, who wanted to see for themselves what this man was like. Dressed in a green waistcoat and a loose-fitting sports coat, he sat in the dock opposite the judge, staring at him with those compelling eyes of his. Eyes set high above prominent cheekbones, narrow lips, and a pointed chin. Hear what Sir Edward Marshall Hall, one of the leading barristers of the day who was defending Smith, had to say.
He had a horrible way of looking at one. It gave me a most unpleasant feeling, and I certainly formed the opinion that he had a curious way of influencing people.
Sir Edward Marshall Hall was quite convinced that Smith was trying to hypnotize him. Now, you realize the extraordinary thing about this case was that there was nothing but circumstantial evidence to prove this man was a murderer. A lot of people think you can't hang a man on circumstantial evidence alone. I wonder where that idea came from. All the same, the judge had a very ticklish point to decide. It was not, is this man innocent or guilty, but is there sufficient evidence in law to convict this undoubtedly guilty man? The difference there, you see. Nobody could prove that Smith himself actually held those three women under the water until they were drowned. But the way each death had occurred in exactly the same manner, well, it was asking too much of anyone to believe that it could have been just coincidence. Nevertheless, Smith's counsel tried to argue it was possible.
It would be difficult to believe that the same number could come up on a roulette table 5 times in succession. But if it happened, my lad, you would not be entitled to convict the croupier as a dishonest man.
On the contrary, if I saw it happen and the same people were at the table all the time, I should consider I had a perfect right to grow highly suspicious.
Smith was quiet as he sat there listening to the evidence piling up against him. But when Inspector Neal went into the witness box, he suddenly lost all control.
He's a scoundrel. He ought to be in this box. He will be one day. Sit down. He's been going up to the crime for the last 5 years. I don't get covered what you say. You can't sentence me to death. I've done no murder. I'm innocent.
How could he be innocent? How could he ever think himself innocent? Unless, and mind you, this is just an idea, unless he put those women into a hypnotic trance and let them drown themselves. If that's how it happened, if he didn't actually hold them under the water himself, his sick brain might twist that into a belief that he was innocent. Inspector Neal had a theory as to how these murders were done, too. More the sort of theory you'd expect from Scotland Yard, more practical. As a matter of fact, almost too practical. It caused a sensation when he offered to put on a demonstration right there. The 3 bathtubs had been admitted as evidence. He had one of them filled with water. Then he produced a pretty girl in a bathing suit. From then on, things grew livelier by the minute.
Gentlemen of the jury, you are about to witness a practical demonstration of the method by which the prisoner Smith could have caused the deaths of those women who loved and trusted him, and who died, he says, accidentally. This young lady has consented to play the part of the victim. I myself will take the part we contend was played by George Joseph Smith. Are you ready, miss?
Yes, Inspector.
Very good. Now, if you'll be so kind as to step into the bath.
Like this?
Yes. Crouch over a bit as though you were going to sit down, and stay well back so that you won't bump your head as you fall. I ask the jury to remember that there were no marks of violence on any of the victims, except for 2 small bruises on the arm of Margaret Lofty.
Have you arranged for a doctor to be present, just in case?
Yes, my lad. He's sitting over there.
Very good. You may proceed with your extremely interesting demonstration.
Now, miss, you quite understand what I'm going to do, don't you?
Yes. You grab me by the feet and then tip me over, face downwards in the water.
That's it. And you pretend to struggle.
Yes.
Right. Now. Help me out of her, somebody. She is pretending she's fainted. Good Lord, Patrick, doctor! The doctor, get the doctor, please!
Inspector Neal's little experiment proved almost too realistic. The girl, a strong swimmer, was completely unconscious, and they had real difficulty in bringing her round. Having heard and seen all the evidence, it took the jury exactly 22 minutes to bring in a verdict of guilty. And though Smith appealed, the higher court upheld the verdict. George Joseph Smith paid for his crimes on the scaffold in August 1915. I wonder, would Smith have been able to cheat the hangman if he'd pleaded insanity? Or murder, I don't know. But undoubtedly the man was quite mad. How else can you explain the behavior of a man who could read Shakespeare to one woman in a garden soon after he brutally killed another? Who could sit quietly at an organ and play a dirge for his bride? Nearer my God to thee. A few minutes after he'd callously drowned her. To me, Smith is quite incredible. And, I'll admit it, fascinating, too. As a footnote to the story of George Joseph Smith, let me tell you about Caroline Beatrice Thornhill, the first woman he married. Somehow he managed to get her into trouble with the police and deserted her. 2 years later, Beatty was in London and saw her husband looking in a shop window. But unlike Bessie, maybe you remember, Beatty did not believe in sweet reunions. She had her husband arrested by the nearest policeman and sent to jail for 2 years hard labor for receiving stolen goods. Tit for tat, you might call it. When he came out of prison, Smith swore to murder her. Beatty fled to Canada for safety, vowing she'd never come back to England. But she did, yes. When Smith was sentenced to death, his first bride was there in court to see. Treacle is sweet, she said, but revenge is sweeter. Nice girl.